Do you sound bad as a duck caller? Do you think you sound bad, or do some of your friends tell you that you sound bad? Well, today we're going to talk about why you sound bad and maybe ways you can improve your duck calling. That's what we're doing this time on Surviving Duck Season.
Surviving Duck Season, offering you the best waterfowl content. Subscribe to this channel, click the notification bell, and don't miss any of our great content. Presented by Mojo Outdoors and High and Dry.
When it comes to mallard ducks, there are so many different sounding hens out there. From the high-pitched squeaky sounding hens to the low coarse sounding quacks of a mature hen mallard. Lots of different sounds, and they all don't sound the same. Just like duck calls that we can buy to go duck hunting with, they sound all across the board. There's single reed calls, double reed calls, triple reed calls. There's, J-frame and I-frame style calls. There's cut down style calls. All different calls that are made to sound different. And so, a guy can get lost knowing which kind of call to use and even how to manipulate that call to sound the right way. It's about when to call, and it's about the cadence that you're making. I've got plenty of friends that are really, really great duck hunters that shoot lots of ducks, that finish them in the decoys and shoot them the right way. But they don't all sound great. Not all those guys sound just like exactly like a mallard hen. But the thing is they know how to make that call tell a duck to land in the decoys, and that's the difference. You don't have to be, a concert musician with your duck call to get a duck to come in. Okay, it's all about the cadence. It's all about making the types of sounds that a duck would make, and it's about the speed and then calling at the right times to get the duck to do what you want it to. You don't have to sound perfect to do that. Now, yes, there are ways that you can improve yourself to make yourself sound better, but at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get your ducks to come into shotgun range so you can shoot them. And so, let's not get, unless you're going to be a competition caller, there's no reason to get so perfectly particular about the way you sound, especially not when you're first learning how to duck call. So, to me, there's a couple of things that guys, I never learned. I had to figure some of this stuff out on my own. And as much as I've been around some really good duck callers in my life, sometimes we assume that people know how to do things, or maybe we just hold some ideas too close to the vest because we don't want other people to know, what we're doing. But I'm going to share just a couple little things that have really helped me out. Number one, most of the calls that I have used, and I use single reed calls. I use J-frame style calls, old Arkansas style calls, basically, and then the last 5 or 6 years I've been using cut down calls, and which basically it's a J-frame call that's turn around backwards basically and cut down. But and so the way you hold your call is really important. First of all, you want to hold your call where you can cup it and you can throw the sound. Okay. That's really, really important to hold your call like that. Something else that people do is, I'm going to take the call apart where you can see, this is called the tone board, okay? This is the reed right here. And then this is a piece of cork in here that is wedged in here to hold the reed onto the tone board. And so, as you can see, the way that I've got my call or my lanyard tied around this part of the call, it's set right here so that when I grab it, I know exactly how to hold the call. And so what I do is I like to call with the tone board on the top and the reed on the bottom. So when I put the call to my mouth, this is basically where it sits. Okay, does that make sense? Now I know there's a lot of guys that call exactly opposite to that because it sounds better to them to do it that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just kind of have to play with it yourself. Not every single call it makes a difference with, but some calls it does. Most of the calls that I blow, it does make a difference. Now, if I call with it sideways, it's totally jacked up, and I'll explain the difference, or I'll show you the difference here in just a second. And so if you're having trouble with the way you sound, check that part of it out first, okay? So I'm going to put the call back together, and then I'll show you the difference in what it sounds like. This is the right way, where I have the tone board on top. Now if I turn it sideways, it'll call a duck in, but it doesn't sound as good to me. I can't manipulate the call as well. I can't get the high and the lows and all that stuff that I really want to get as I can when I have it turned what I feel like is the right way for me. Okay, now if I turn it upside down, very, very similar sounding. I feel like that if I use it the other way, it doesn't tend to stick quite as often. I can manipulate it just a little bit better, but that's just, again, that's just a personal preference with me. I know a lot of guys feel like that it sounds better to them when they do it the other way. So mess with that kind of stuff on your own and see if that doesn't help improve the way you sound when you're calling. Again, it's going to make probably a lot bigger difference when you're using a single reed call than with a double reed call or a triple reed call. Another thing that guys learning how to call tend to do is they tend to grunt into their call excessively, and so you almost hear more grunt than you do call. And I don't even know if I can demonstrate that. I'll try, because I kind of did it a long time ago when I was learning how to call myself, but it was like, I don't know, that's kind of what it sounds like. It's just, that's what, a lot of guys are doing in their call. And I think it's probably comes from a point of learning how to use your diaphragm, and you're really trying to huff it up. If you can get that part out of your calling, it will help you improve the way you sound, because you don't need that sound in your call. When I started blowing a cut down call, I felt like that I needed a whole lot more air to blow my call. And the first year or so I was using it, everything was always really, really loud. And that was before I learned how to control the wind. And I think the difference to me, now that I've been using a cut down call for several years compared to just a standard Arkansas style call, is it's not so much that the wind that you're using is a lot more, it's a different way you control the wind that you're blowing. But regardless of which style call you use, you have to learn how to use your gut, your diaphragm when you blow, to control the air. And that's why people probably feel the need to grunt more, because they're trying to kind of figure that out. Once you can cut that guttural sound out from your own voice and just let the call do what it does, and use your mouth to manipulate the wind going into the call, then your call sound will be much, much better. I can get really, really loud with this call, but I can also get really, really soft with the call, because I've learned how to control the wind going into it. For those of you that are learning how to duck call, that haven't been duck calling for very long, I want to encourage you right now, because I know when I started learning how to duck call, and I was hunting with guys that called that were better than me, they've been doing it for a long time, I would feel very, very intimidated calling with them, letting them hear me call. And honestly, all of my buddies that called never had a problem with me calling. They would never laugh at you, and especially if you have conversations with them when you're not in the blind and say, hey, I want to call some, I want you to help me, I want you to kind of give me some feedback about what I'm doing, most guys are more than willing to help you out, to let you kind of chime in and learn a little bit. The way that I duck hunt, I guide duck hunters every day of duck season, and so most of the time the guys that are hunting with me are not accomplished duck callers. Most of them don't pull out a duck call. But when you have a group of buddies that you hunt with, the camaraderie and the enjoyment that you have in hunting together and calling together is an awful lot of fun. When we have guide days where it's just us buddy hunting, me and Scott and Colton and Trey and some of our other buddies that we go out and hunt together. We have fun calling together. We really make it sound great to the birds that are circling the spread. It sounds like a bunch of ducks in there because we know how to call with other people. We don't call over the top of one another. We let one person kind of lead in the calling, and we kind of chime in and let one person finish. That's the best way to call as a group. And so for those of you who want to call with your friends, you kind of need to have a plan and do it that way. And so don't be bashful, don't be ashamed to get help from your friends, and don't let friends talk you down too much either, because the truth is this, it's not about the tone of your call, it's not about how great you sound, it's about what you say and when you say it. That's the most important part about calling ducks. And so always keep that in mind. I hope these tips help you guys out. If they do, let me know in the comment section below. Give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we hope you'll do that as well. And if you got any questions about calling or really anything else, put those in the comment section below as well. Until next time, I'm Joel Strickland. Good hunting, and God bless.